We are back with a brand new video. The Miami Heat have just lost to the Detroit Pistons, the 14th seed Detroit Pistons, without their best player, without Detroit's best player. I know Miami didn't have their best player, but Detroit also did not have their best player at home by 20. I have no words. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. I was so confident, bro. I just knew that Spo had gave them an earful after last night's embarrassing loss as well to the Grizzlies, and I just thought that they would come out with some fire and some energy, and it didn't look too bad in the first quarter, but after halftime, the third quarter, the Pistons went on a big run, and then the fourth quarter was just ugly. They could not stop anybody. Point of attack defense was god-awful. Everyone was getting beat off the dribble. And we are at the point where right now, this was the worst loss of the season by far. Like, this and the Grizzlies losses, these two losses were the worst losses of the season. And as we sit here right now, I just think, as fans, we just need to take a long, hard look at this roster and just talk about what is the best direction moving forward. We all know, and I think anybody who's not living under a rock will tell you that the Heat are not championship contenders this season. I think we need to get that out of our head and reduce our expectations for this roster. Currently constructed, this team is not going to be winning, too many games in the playoffs if they even get there. I think they will make it to the playoffs because I just think that the East is very weak towards the bottom. But I think that in the playoffs, if they were to make it, do not expect much from this team unless moves are made. If this roster stays currently how it is, then I would not really expect anything to change. I don't think adding Jimmy Butler, obviously it would help us get some wins because he's a really good player, but fundamentally this team is poorly constructed, and that is beyond Jimmy, that is beyond Bam, that is beyond Tyler, that is beyond Kyle. Apart from three players on this roster, everybody can go or is not untouchable. And we have to figure out what we want to do. We are currently wasting Jimmy Butler's timeline because he is 32 years old and he's not getting any younger. This season, he's been heavily riddled with injuries and management of injuries and whatever other reasons he's had to miss games. Unfortunately, we haven't had the healthiest team this season, but this is no excuse. To lose a game like this to Detroit after losing to Memphis, you basically lost to two teams that are, playing like some of the worst, and that probably are some of the worst in the league. The G League Grizzlies and the Detroit Pistons without Cade Cunningham. You lose to both teams. The Pistons game was so embarrassing tonight just because in the fourth quarter they just made everything, and it was like the Heat could not guard anybody. Now the offense was not great either. Trust me, the offense was, some might say the offense was worse than the defense, but nothing went well for the Heat tonight. I'm not even gonna look at box scores, stats. Shout out to Tyler Hero for having 30. That's the only stat that I remember from the game. But the only stat I care about is the fact that we lost by 20 to a team that is garbage. I'm like, no disrespect, Detroit. You guys have a great future, but right now, your team is not good, and we kind of laid an egg against you guys. And like I said, I think everybody has to just reduce expectations of this team. I don't think this team is, built to do much at all, apart from just maybe make the playoffs or the play-in or something like that as currently constructed. And it's sad because I actually thought this team was gonna do well. I was fooled. I was fooled. I believed the hype that this team could actually do something. After some of the pieces we lost in free agency, after some of the things we didn't do to improve our roster, I still believe this team was good enough to be a contender. Unfortunately, I look like an idiot now because this team is nowhere near good enough. And, there's a lot of people who would be like, yep, I told you so. This team is not good. I said it. Hats off to you. You were right. But that doesn't really, help us. You can say you're right, but we're still terrible right now. So we got to figure out a way or ways to fix this team. Now, obviously, we are not in control of anything, but it's helpful to talk about some moves that could be made. I know everyone has a dream wish list for Christmas. And a lot of Heat fans will talk about, I want this player, this player, this player. We got to be realistic here. Nobody's trading for KD right now. Nobody's trading for Mitchell. Obviously, he's gone. But we just have to be realistic with ourselves. With the assets we have, I don't think we're going to get much more than like a role player, like a Jay Crowder or like a Harrison Barnes or like tonight, Bojan Bogdanovic. He's a perfect example of someone we could trade for. Realistic option, plays for a rebuilding team. He signed an extension, but I think the Pistons would be looking to move him for some picks. Like, those type of trades could be made possible to happen. I'm tired of hearing the stars to the Heat, the rumors of stars to the Heat. It's not going to happen right now. We have zero assets, so I don't even think we can get a John Collins, let alone a Kevin Durant right now. So we're in a very tough spot, man. Like, I think, it's cool to say we develop guys and we have undrafted players. That's always a really good talking point. Like, the Heat are very good at developing their undrafted guys, but at some point we got to get actual talent on this team. Like, another stat that I don't know off the top of my head, but when I looked at the game, I think it was in the third quarter, on the bottom of the screen, it said we had 4 bench points. Now, I don't know how many we ended with, but I know it was not more than double digits or anything. So that's unacceptable as well. The only good thing about tonight's game was that Victor Oladipo made his debut. He looked okay, I guess. Like, he didn't do much. I didn't expect him to do much. He was kind of like he was rusty, obviously. Anyone would be after missing that much time. But that was the only thing that came. That was the only good thing that came about, me watching this game or any of you guys watching this game, because apart from Oladipo's debut and Hero dropping 30, nothing really went well for the Heat. Spo will come out and say, I know this team is capable of this and this. That's fine, Spo. We know that the Heat can have good wins time to time. They beat Boston, and they had a really good win in Boston. Boston, don't get it twisted. I know we lost tonight, so people are not going to care about that game, but we had a really good win against Boston. And, that's what frustrates me and might frustrate a lot of you, is that we can beat a really good team. Like, Boston was the best team in the NBA this season. Like, they're playing extremely well. Like, record is amazing. It was at Boston. Like, that was the best win of the season, and we can have those type of wins. We beat Phoenix. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have beaten really good teams. We beat Golden State, but unfortunately, it's the games that we're supposed to win that we don't. And that's a sign of a team that's not good. When you cannot take care of business against the teams that you're supposed to, that's when you know this team is not ready and this team is not where it needs to be. Because, it doesn't matter if you win against the top teams. If you don't take care of business against the teams you're supposed to beat, it's not a good look. And, even past that, it affects the record. I talked about how we had an easier stretch of games, moving forward. Obviously, we play the Clippers, we play the Spurs, we play the Pacers, we play the Hornets or something like that. Like, we don't have too many tough games coming up. But for the Heat, it's the games that they're supposed to win that are the most tough for them. So maybe we should be worried. Maybe we should be like, yo, are we going to lose to the Spurs? Because coming into tonight, I just knew there was no way we were going to lose this game after what we did last night and after how embarrassing the defeat was last night. I just knew that Spo was going to light something underneath them. And unfortunately, it was the complete opposite. We came out flat again. And not only did the offense struggle, the defense also struggled. We were not able to close the game in the fourth quarter. They knocked down almost every open shot that they had. And yeah, it was just tough. Where do we go from here? Like I said, man, I just think we all have to just, as a collective, reduce our expectations for this team. This team is extremely inconsistent. On paper, it is not well constructed. A lot of people want to blame Spo. I mean, look what he's working with, bro. His bench had less than 10 points. At one point, they had 4 in the third quarter late. Like, what do you want him to do? Like, he's playing Jovic, he's playing your favorites. Unfortunately, the team is just not good. The team is not good. We just have to accept that the team is not good. And until a move is made, we just have to accept the fact that this team is not really going to do much. They can have a good win here and there, and they can try to trick us and say, oh, we beat Boston, we beat Phoenix, we beat this other good team. But we all know this team's biggest problem is its inconsistency. And the fact that after they beat a really good team, they lose and put up a dud against the team that they're supposed to beat. So again, we just have to reduce the expectations for this roster. And I think, you know, we just have to sit tight. A move will definitely be made. There's no way they're not going to do anything. So we just got to sit tight and wait. And that's it, man. I'm out. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. I'll see y'all later as always.